So, hi, my name is Garrison Anderson. I work on the marketing team here at Matter. So thanks for joining today for our Matter membership info session. Today I'm joined by Mike McGarry, who's our Vice President of Venture Acceleration. And we'll be talking about the programs and services that we offer to our startup members. So we probably have a little bit of a smaller, intimate group here. So Mike has a few slides to go over, but yeah, I'll pass it off to Mike.
Garrison, thank you very much. And as Garrison, for those just joining, apologize. It looks like we had a little maybe back end issue with Zoom and the Zoom link, so we might have some folks trickling in. I think we had about 30 registered for the event, so we would expect to see a few more. If not, if it stays a small group like this, I'll try and get through the structured material, the slide deck. It's only 18 slides. I'll go through it really quick and leave a lot more time for Q&A. So all right, so let's jump in. So, healthcare entrepreneurship with Matter. Let's start with our mission. Pretty simple: to accelerate the pace of change in healthcare. Matter is a nonprofit. We work with startups. We currently have about 120, 130 companies in our portfolio. We work to bring them together with industry, other stakeholders, industry experts, et cetera. We'll get into a little more detail on that as the presentation progresses here. But in line with that, our core belief is collaboration between those groups is the most important way to advance care and improve lives, right? So innovation is something we can't do on our own. We meaning entrepreneurs, we meaning Matter, we meaning health systems, we meaning investors, right? Each stakeholder has a critical role to play, but bringing those groups together and really addressing some of the bigger, pressing challenges in healthcare is our goal. Our model, we have three primary areas within our model. We're going to be talking about startup incubation today. On the far right, corporate innovation, just something that everyone y'all should be aware of. Our corporate partnership team works with a lot of large corporations, large pharma companies, for example. AbbVie would be an example there. Large foundations. We just launched a program with the American Heart Association. These programs, in partnership with our corporate partners, are accelerator programs, very specific problem statements, right? So the corporate partner is looking to solve a very specific problem. And then it's a time-bound experience, usually about 10 to 12 weeks for those accelerator programs. If and where there's a good fit, would strongly encourage companies to join or to apply to participate in those. But just knowing they're very, very selective. I think currently we have like 130 applicants for the program we just launched with the American Heart Association, and just a small number are going to be selected. So in parallel to that, we have startup incubation. That's the team that I lead, which we call Venture Acceleration. And within the startup incubation, we work to support a broad range of companies. We've got companies creating solutions around things like pharmacy supply chain management, all the way to custom cancer care, using AI to an app for combating loneliness in seniors, right? So really a broad scope of companies applying or working to solve a number of challenges within healthcare. In between those two is this community nexus, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But that's in line with this notion that collaboration and community is the key to advance innovation. Quick history about Matter. We're the largest community of healthcare innovators. Just some quick numbers here. We launched a little over 10 years ago. In that time frame, we've worked with well over 1,000 startups from across the globe. We are Chicago-based, and we do see definitely a kind of a nexus or a cohort of companies. About 30% of the companies we work with are in Chicago or the Midwest. But actually, about 40 or 50% are outside the Midwest throughout the rest of the United States, and about 15 to 20% are international. So we have structured programs with South Korea, with Canada, Israel, and then companies represented in the UK, Netherlands, Australia. So we truly are a global organization with a Midwest footprint. Some other numbers on there you guys can read for yourself. But companies that have worked with Matter have been very successful in raising capital. And when you look at the sectors, about 65, 70% are digital health companies. The rest, sort of a selection of life sciences, services, and consumer companies. And when you look at the partners that we work with a lot of providers, about 30% providers, about 25% are life sciences companies, 20% associations like the American Heart Association, which I mentioned earlier, a smaller percentage, but meaningful representation from the payer community, the insurance community. And then we work with a lot of universities, especially local ones, Northwestern, University of Chicago, Rush, Loyola, University of Illinois, et cetera. So pretty, broad footprint, across the region. 2024 global footprint, just kind of, again, reinforcing that notion that if your company is not located in Chicago, not a problem. We see us, across 11 countries, 117 cities. So truly a global organization. Jumping into the Matter experience, the member experience a little bit here. We really work to help entrepreneurs build the best healthcare in business. And importantly, we trust that you're bringing the technical expertise. If you're building a digital program, you've got the developers. If it's a physical program, a medical device, you've got the engineers and building the prototypes. Matter really works to support entrepreneurs on the business side of business. And we do that in three ways. Building your business capabilities. So we have a number of programs to support you there, as far as our executive in residence program, expert clinic. We work to help support fundraising. We've got a network of about 180 venture capital firms that we work with. To be very clear, Matter is not a fund. We do not directly invest in, nor do we take equity in the companies that we support. We really work through a network of partners, in this case, venture capital partners, some angel investors, small number of private equity firms and family offices, but I'd say the large percentage of fundraising that we do is working with venture capital firms. And we talk about learning from the best in healthcare. We've curated a network of not only individuals, but industry stakeholders in the areas that we've already talked about, the provider group. So, primarily health systems, payers, insurance companies. And a growing one for us is the self-insured employer. We're seeing a lot of traction from the large self-insured employer that has a vested interest not only in reducing costs of care for their employees, but also improving the health of their employees. So it's sort of an interesting and growing, network for us. The journey at Matter, we try and make this as simple as possible. We offer 2 different memberships, but the process is relatively the same. It's a simple online application. We'll share out links, for this stuff, following this call. So don't worry about jotting down any notes. Our team takes a look at the application. If we think that there's a good fit, we set up an interview. And I really want to echo that word fit. We're not looking for, we're not doing the diligence that a venture capital firm would do. We're not trying to determine if you've got a great business, if you're solving, a really meaningful problem. We're really looking for fit. The types of gaps that you have in your business, the types of resources that you're looking for, is that a good fit for the community that we've built? Will we be able to support you in your journey? Right. So that's what we're really looking for. Assuming the interview goes well, we would then approve the application. And then that follows by an onboarding and discovery call, and we get you into the system. It typically takes about 3 to 4 weeks from, application being submitted to where we get you up and running and part of the community. Jumping into, a little more specifics of the programs I mentioned earlier are, when we talk about extensive mentorship and coaching, we have our executive residence. Every single Matter member is paired with an executive in residence. This is an individual that has, usually multiple decades of experience in healthcare. What we do is work to pair an EIR that's aligned with your business needs. So if your greatest business needs, say you're a product that needs to get FDA approval, we might pair you with an EIR that has extensive experience, building and delivering products to market that require regulatory approval. Maybe you're selling, your product will sell into a payer system. We would then work to align you with an EIR that has extensive experience. Maybe it's a 20-year veteran of, an insurance company and can really help guide not only the development of your solution, but kind of help with the go-to-market strategy and perhaps some of their network connections as well. So the EIR for many of our members becomes sometimes the first formal mentor or advisor that the company has. Or if you've already established, a group of advisors and mentors for your organization, just becomes another individual to help, support that effort moving forward. The expert clinic, we've got, well over 100, I think about 140 mentors in the expert clinic. These are individuals with more domain specific knowledge. So these are individuals maybe have expertise around data privacy and data security, governance, risk and compliance, FDA and regulatory, go-to-market strategy. And whereas your EIR is assigned to you as a member and stays with you throughout your journey with Matter, the experts in the expert clinic are available to you on a more ad hoc basis. So you can, scan the network of mentors that we have. Say you're trying to get some clarity around a regulatory strategy or go-to-market strategy. You could tap into those experts in the expert clinic. Maybe you have 2 or 3 conversations with them. You might not ever meet with them again, right? So they're there as needed for you to tap into as much or as often as needed. And then finally, the Matter team, the Venture Acceleration team, we're here to support you in not only getting the best value out of the resources we've curated within Matter, but also to help sort of guide your journey and connect you with all the various events that we have, the various stakeholders that we work with, et cetera. Fundraising support, we've got a team of venture fellows. We work with all of our members, first and foremost, to make sure you're actually ready to go raise capital. It's not uncommon that, a lot of early founders in particular, feel, hey, I've got a great idea, and they focused so much on the product. They haven't really flushed out some of the business side of their pitch, their value proposition, their go-to-market strategy, their financial forecast, those sorts of things. So we work with our members to make sure that your pitch deck and the presentations that you'll be giving to the materials you'll be sharing with investors are really tightened up and ready to go. And then once we get to a point where we all agree, that we're, kind of ready to kick off the fundraising effort, we do have outreach, that network of investors that I mentioned earlier. And, we work to facilitate introductions as best as possible there. Wealth of on-demand resources. We'll talk a little bit. So 2 memberships currently, our Flex membership and our Select. The Flex membership is really a digital-only experience and has, again, a number of resources and assets available, a digital curriculum, which covers virtually everything you'll need to know about building a business, professional services directory. We've curated a list of, contractors and companies that have a preferred relationship with Matter this would be beyond membership, just to be clear, but help you navigate, some of the third parties you might want to work with to help, support and grow your business. Knowledge library, just a bunch of, white papers, articles on industry best practices, those sorts of things. And then the mentor booking, the mentor network that I mentioned, you do that all through your portal and through the digital, membership that you have with Matter. Beyond that, we talked about community, we talked about collaboration. So we do work to foster a dynamic community, not only between our members, so entrepreneurs connecting with other entrepreneurs, but also entrepreneurs connecting with industry. So we have a number of member exclusive opportunities. We're usually running, 1 or more a month. These are private, informative conversations that connect you with industry experts for 2 primary reasons. One, to gain that knowledge, right? Insightful topics that are relevant for the time, but not uncommon that, our speakers are open to meeting with our member companies one-on-one following an event. So an opportunity to kind of dig deeper and engage with industry. The HQ away from home. So Matter does have a gorgeous space downtown Chicago, obviously a huge benefit for our members that are in and around the Chicago area, but that space is available to any member. And so not uncommon today that, companies, while they have a corporate office or a corporate address somewhere, many companies, it seems to me, the majority of companies are actually building remote teams. So we see a lot of companies actually use our space for, if they're not in there on a daily, or weekly basis, working out of the space, maybe they're coming in, on a quarterly basis, bringing their teams from across the country, into Matter for some quarterly meetings, maybe some investor meetings, those sorts of things. So Independent of location, our office space in Chicago is available to all members. And then finally, a Slack channel that helps connect our members and entrepreneurs. Membership tiers. Talked about this briefly, but most of the programs I've talked about today are really fall under the select membership. $400 a month, as I mentioned, no equity, no additional fees. It's a month to month. We try and make this as easy as possible. It's a quick application. Shouldn't take you more than 10 to 15 minutes to fill that out. And then there's no minimum commitment either. It's not like you don't have to subscribe or be a member for 12 months. It's, come in, use the resources as needed. Obviously, we hope that we're providing value that you stay on, for quite some time. Average membership, last time we ran some numbers, about 28 months. So most companies stick with Matter for about, a little over 2 years on their journey. And, our goal is to create as much value for you, across that time frame. Some of the, the assets listed here under the select membership, again, a lot of what I've talked about throughout the presentation so far. And then the other membership is our Flex membership. Just to reinforce, it is free and primarily a digital experience. Same thing, no equity, no additional fees, but no personalized support. So you don't have the one-on-one mentorship, the access to the experts in the expert clinic. It's primarily the digital curriculum, professional service directory, knowledge library, and then the Slack community. But this is a great option for founders that are maybe just getting started. Hey, I think I've got an idea. I've sort of started to shape my business, but boy, I could really use some support, some insight, some guidance on how to really shape the foundation of my business. And, so Flex is a great way just to kind of dip your toes in, get connected to the Matter community, and, start framing your business with a little more direction, a little more intent. The goal is we can then move you from the Flex membership into the Select as your company grows. And finally, our tagline: do something that matters. So with that, and that's the informational portion of the the presentation. But happy to address or entertain any clarifying questions that you have, or any specific questions about your business. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing just so we can see everyone here. And looks like there are some comments.
Sure. I have, I guess, a question. I'm not sure. At what stage would you recommend the I forgot, not the Flex membership, the one right up, at what stage should a company consider that level? And at what stage should a company consider that level, and at what stage should the company be? Do they need to be?
No, great question. Yeah, great. I know what you're getting at, Jose. So most of our resources are geared towards seed stage companies. I would say, of the 120 companies, more than half are in that seed stage. And so what does that mean when we say seed stage? Have some sort of a proof of concept or a working prototype. It's not just an idea that, you've started to kind of build some product. Maybe even when I say put it out in the market, meaning you've started to get some customer discovery, some feedback from the market. You have a pretty solid understanding that you've zeroed in on a meaningful problem, and have a pretty solid idea of what that solution might look like. That doesn't mean you've got a product that's, enterprise ready to go to market, right? So it's kind of on that front end of the product development. Oftentimes we see companies, they haven't raised any significant capital yet, but they do have, meaningful runway, meaning they can, operate 9 to 12 months, whether that's bootstrapping, whether that's, they've got some friends and family investment already. So a little bit of capital. Some have raised maybe from an angel investor, or have done a small seed round, with a institutional investor or venture capital. But that's where we really start to work with companies, is preparing them for that first meaningful investment, from a venture capital. That being said, we do have some that are pre-seed, are very much in the, hey, I've got an idea. but they're a ways away from engaging customers or engaging investors. And so we really work with them to help kind of shape the foundational elements of their business, their value proposition, some of the evidence they need around their financial modeling, right? How big is this market that's obviously a big question that investors have, right? Is how big is this market opportunity? So we help shape, through our mentors and advisors, kind of help shape those elements of the business that get you ready for that first fundraising round. And on the other end, we do have, maybe 10, 20% companies that are Series A. They've raised a meaningful amount of venture capital, 1.5 million or more, and they're looking to get into pilot programs. Some even looking to kind of scale within the market. They've had some successful pilots, but that represents maybe 15, 20%. The sweet spot for us is that seed stage company, and most of our resources are geared to supporting companies at that stage. That makes sense, Jose? Is that?
Yeah, it's just it's my current position is, I guess you would say, unique with my current stage, because I'm well beyond the idea stage. I've been working on it for, I want to say, past 2-3 years, developing business plan, financial models. When you mentioned earlier, connecting with payer systems, because it's healthcare. I already have a connection who says, "Hey, look, as soon as you open your doors, we'll have a conversation. I'll get you contracted with some of the best insurances in the area." So I have like a lot of the financials down. I have everything, everything that a lot of investors are looking for. So I guess, I guess for me, I would need kind of like a one-on-one conversation so that someone can actually take a look at it, because I plan to be incorporated probably within the next 60 to 90 days. I've already have a lawyer who I've been working with, again, for the past 2 years. He understands exactly what I'm looking for. And what attracted me to this call was that you've recently funded a company very similar in model. I think it's called Town Square Health.
Yep.
So it's similar in model, but different. So a lot of the infrastructure is different, but my model is expanding on terms of population, access to care, serving different populations, as well as implementing a digital AI component that I already have the infrastructure for. So a lot of the I'm saying this repeatedly, infrastructure and the financials are there, the business projections there, everything is there. I'm planning to be incorporated within the next 90 days. So where do I fall? One, am I a candidate? And two, if I am a candidate, what level would work best for me?
Yeah, so I'd say you're absolutely, well, again, a little bit unique in that you've done, sounds like a fair bit of work on some of the business side of it, definitely the product side of it. We do generally look for companies that have already, filed their articles for incorporation. They're an established business. We do look for founders that have dedicated, some are definitely, I always joke, side hustle. They've got their full-time job, but they're building this, on nights and weekends. What we really look for is individuals that have committed to the business full time, because it's hard. It's hard to do this, on a part-time basis. And so that, again, that's not a deal breaker, but we find that folks that have made that commitment to the business get the most out of their time with Matter. Great example, Town Square Health. To be clear, we did not invest. We do not invest, but they have, through their relationship with Matter and their efforts, even beyond Matter, they have been wildly successful in raising capital. They've had a very successful fundraising round. We would work to, it's a great example of community. It sounds like you're building something, similar but different. There's probably a lot that you guys can learn from each other, right? So when we talk about community and connecting entrepreneurs, great example there. So never a problem that, people are working in the same space. If it turns out that you guys are direct competitors, well, then you might not want to, talk as much. But really do promote that shared learning, especially around, things like raising capital. It'd be incredibly valuable, I'd assume, for you to meet with Town Square, assuming you're not in a direct, competitive relationship. Say, hey, how were you guys so successful in raising capital? But I'd say you're probably on the just on the early edge, but really in that sweet spot of getting started on Select. And Jose, I would encourage you, just drop an application. There's absolutely no commitment. We don't hire any used car salesmen here. There's no hard sell. There's no pressure. But if you submit the application, that just gets you formally into our system. And then we can set up some time for a one-on-one interview directly with you to talk about the specifics of your business.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just emphasize too, one element within that. One of the programs Mike talked about was fundraising support. And some of how that works is we have companies that are like, hey, I'm kind of starting on this journey of fundraising. And we have venture acceleration fellows that have exited businesses and have also turned that exit into beginning investing themselves. And they have real, honest, candid conversations with our startups about this is where your pitch is going well, this is where we feel like your story could change, and how you can make yourself as appealing as possible to investors. And that's a program within our Select membership. So I'd echo that because it seemed like that might be something you're interested in.
Yeah.
But then also just re-emphasize Mike's point, like best place to start is an application. So
Okay, thank you.
and then, yeah, inviting anyone else if they have questions or curiosities to either drop them in the chat or come off, come on video or voice them here as well, because we do have some time.
And then if you look in the chat, Garrison dropped some links to both the Select membership, Flex membership. So everything I talked about, details are there on the website. But as we were sharing with Jose, the application process, zero commitment on that. So would encourage if there's interest on your part, drop an application just so we get formally connected. If it's not the right fit, not the right time for you, no worries. We're here to support you. So it's got to be again, right time, right fit. But no harm in putting the application in. We do have a question from Lisa. I am in federal government, so probably won't be able to join now. Maybe in a few years. Understand, a lot going on in the federal government right now.
I've got a question, actually. I'm earlier than Jose, and so just wanted to get a sense of, I think I would be totally happy and appreciate putting an application and having kind of a one-on-one discussion, but I feel like I might be even earlier than that. That may be appropriate. Are there resources through Matter available that are, you had brought up that most companies have their technical team together, and it's really the business aspect that Matter really helps with. I guess, is there any connections I could develop through Matter or any way through Matter that I could help kind of build out the technical team as well, or other resources, I guess, if that's relevant as well?
We do foster a really dynamic community. We do not have sort of a direct, developer resource or a job board, so to speak, where you could put something out there and say, hey, I'm looking for a couple of people to do X, Y, or Z. But Garrison just hosted this morning our coffee connections and co-working. Not uncommon that we see people bumping into each other there. Hey, yeah, I'm just getting started. I'm looking to do this. Hey, I was looking to do something similar. And, I personally have witnessed, two individuals coming together saying, hey, let's talk further about what it might look like to build something together. So, the community's there, but Garrison, I'm struggling on this question a little bit because I don't want to mislead you and say, hey, be part of the community and absolutely you'll find some folks. To be very clear, we don't have a formal, job board, job placement. We do have a handful of organizations in our professional services directory. And of course, these are companies that you would contract with, and it would be a paid relationship that have, developer resources. And that's, a fairly common path for some founders to go, is just sort of outsource the work to a development team. But if you're looking through more of an HR lens to kind of bring on co-founders or an HR team, I'd hesitate to say, yep, Matter's the place to do that. Garrison, any other clarifying thoughts?
No, without knowing more about sort of your background and journey at Heath, I probably don't have anything else to say besides like emphasizing where Matter is a part of a broader tech ecosystem in Chicago. That's pretty friendly, I'd say, across a lot of the different incubators and accelerators throughout the city. And if you are Chicago based, I definitely encourage like engaging with that community and ecosystem. I was even talking with this morning at a networking event we hosted at Matter of a couple PhD students who have more like technical AI expertise out of Northwestern. So I think sort of being active and engaged in those kind of spaces is a good way to sort of build those relationships if that's what you're looking for.
Great, thank you.
Are you in and around Chicago, or where are you
I
located?
am. Yeah, I'm in
Oh,
Chicago.
cool. Yeah, I mean, building out what Garrison
There you
said, monthly we have, the Coffee and Connections. We do have a ton of relationships with universities, which again, whether it's, evening events, we're hosting, I think a couple this month, presentations, speakers, oftentimes from the universities. It's just a great, come hang out in the space, the Coffee and Connections, join as many of the events as possible that are open to the public. As we mentioned, some of our events are, for member only type things. But just start dipping your toes around, getting familiar with the community and I would suggest that because it seems like you're probably last thing we want to do, we know how tight every penny is, especially for early founders bootstrapping. We want to make sure that you're getting value out of the membership. So Flex membership for sure, since that's free, and get connected to the Slack channel, and then participate in as many public events that are at Matter as possible, just to kind of get connected into the community. As Garrison was saying, we've got a really strong presence in and around Chicago, and probably a great way for you just to get connected beyond your existing networks.
Awesome, thank you. That's great.
Kristen, you came off camera. Oh, there you are. Everything's moving around on my screen. Did you have a question or?
No, I'm so sorry I'm late. It was on my calendar at 1 o'clock, so I'm very sorry for being late. Oh, and this is my dog, Captain. He's a Velcro dog. Sorry about that.
Well, we love dogs.
To give you a little fill in, Christian, we did do a quick slide presentation overview of the different memberships that we'll send out to everyone who registered.
Okay.
But if you did have any like quick top of your brain questions, Mike and I'd be happy to answer or follow up later as well.
Not at the moment. I'll just look at the deck and then follow up with you. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. There's some links in the chat as well for more information.
I have another question.
Go.
So as far as the Matter program itself, are they rolling? Meaning, you can enter at any time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So to be clear, and this sometimes gets a little confusing, we really have two verticals within the organization. Our corporate partnerships, which I talked about, early on just for a few minutes, those are time bound and specific, right? So those you apply for an accelerator that's sponsored by one of our corporate partners, and those have very specific timeframes. The Venture Acceleration Program, which we spent most of the time talking about, would be, I would call rolling admission. We don't operate on a cohort basis. It's whenever the time is right for you, whenever you feel that Matter can support and help you on your journey, submit the application and join whenever is right for you. Yeah. Okay. So no time requirements around the Venture Acceleration Program or the select membership.
Okay. And on average, so I know you mentioned as far as level of commitment, is the expectation, let's say you become a select member, that now this is your full-time job as far as commitment to making this venture grow? Is that kind of the level of expectation?
So I wouldn't say it's an expectation on our part. It's an observation from, the people that get the most value out of the Matter community are the ones that are committed most to the business.
Okay.
Right. So, but that being said, for example, one individual comes top of mind. He's a physician founder. He's still actively practicing. He's just kind of chipping away at it, when he can. And so he really values being part of Matter, just to have the resources, have some of the connections into the community. But there might go, a month might go by where he really doesn't make any significant progress on the business because he's only doing it part-time. So the comments there, Jose, are really to get the most out of the Matter membership. Those that we see that are, really engaged are the ones that are full-time. But it is not a requirement. It is not an expectation. We just want to level set on, the experience that, again, those that are, committed full-time get the most value out of the resources we offer. But we do, I don't have a hard number on it, but just top of mind, maybe it's a couple, 10, a dozen companies where it's a founder that's in that, as you say, sort of in that transition of, going from maybe a full-time job to starting the company and transitioning and committing full-time. So you wouldn't be an outlier. And again, not a requirement on our end, just trying to share, again, where we see people get the most value out of the membership.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That helps.
Yeah. Right. I think we'd scheduled, I think, to 10:45. So we are officially at time here. If anyone else has additional questions, feel free to contact Garrison directly, contact myself directly. Again, we posted some additional, links for additional resources on the website, and appreciate you spending some time with us today. And